Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ready for Game 2 between Team Liquid Academy and Barrage Esports. And if you missed the first game, well, Smacks, why don't you tell the folks at home what just happened?
Spoilers. Barrage won game 1, which is astounding, honestly. Sorry I doubted them, honestly. I certainly predicted the Team Liquid Academy would take this series as a whole, and maybe even in 2-0 fashion with how strong they performed in that Arena of Legends tournament. But it's plays like these that we're seeing on our screen right now that have caused Fnatic, Winter, and the rest of the squad to just completely demolish their opponents in this game. Look at all of this pick potential and pick threat that Fnatic and Winter and the rest of these guys were able to just use so often throughout this entire game, Rafa.
And a lot of the times that Barrage Esports, as of recent, a lot of their wins have been coming off of, Fnatic being able to snowball a Cake Lord or APA, and then Gorka is able to be a benefactor. But this was one of the first times in a while that Gorka was the primary carry, the primary focus, and the benefactor of a lot of these kills here for Barrage Esports. As most of the time, we haven't really seen a lot of success or winner being put into roaming to the side lanes or mid lane, being able to get other lanes ahead. But this is kind of like classic Barrage if we go back to Risen, right, where these were the majority of the compositions where the Kaisas were being locked in almost every game. And then when Samira was first experiencing her first wave of kind of strength and power in its heyday, Gorka being the primary focus for these compositions once again, and where we were hailing Gorka as one of the top 80 carries within that pool that was competing within the amateur tournaments over at Proving Grounds. And this time around, they get to focus and make him the primary carry once again. Now, going into this Game 2 draft here, Smacks, I'm looking at Team Liquid Academy because we know that this team is not a slouch. Like, the fact that they lost the Game 1 doesn't mean that they underperformed. It just means Barrage really stepped up their game and they capitalized on every mistake that Team Liquid Academy, even if they were small, did give.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even really say that they underperformed within the game itself either.
Exactly.
Rafa. They actually got themselves to a very large lead in that one, up to about 3,000 gold off of just turret platings and laning alone. And yeah, for them to go all throughout that game, like I brought up after the fact, they went through all this checklist. They got a 3,000 gold lead. They got all this gold onto their primary carry in Yon. They bought all of the QSSs. It just wasn't enough in the end. So much crowd control from the side of Barrage, and they used it so expertly well and expertly timed too to catch Yon off guard and catch the entire team off guard because of it. And I'm very overwhelmed to see this because I like I said, I definitely expected Team Liquid to win this one. I even was casting it like I thought they were going to win because they were winning. But Barrage just out of nowhere really brought it back. And I am really blown away by that. Really well done from Barrage.
You know what this means, Max? This means that we have a banger series on our hands because you know what? We were very sure that, we would see a Game 1 win from Team Liquid Academy the first time around. But this time around, you know what? It's all up in the air. It can now go to either party here, and it will really come down to once the compositions are locked again for these two teams, as we will get an idea of the stylistic approach and strategy that both of these teams will be looking to execute. For Barrage, are they going to go for something similar, this pick composition, setting up Gorka for resets, or are they going to try something different? We know in the past that being able to put APA on something that's more roam-centric has been another caveat and another style that they have been able to do so before, if we're going to talk about classic Barrage here, Smacks.
And touching on the mid lane here in this series, I want to highlight Harry especially as someone who did jump out the gate really nicely in this game. He was sort of the victim of a early game freeze by APA on this Victor, but he played out this lane very well. He broke the freeze on his own accord. He didn't really need Armeo to come through all that often in the mid lane to fix it up for himself. We saw that from his teleport play to get back into that lane. We saw it from his ultimate just to clear the wave as fast as possible and continue breaking that through and continue depriving APA of those resources in the mid lane. And a lot of that was from his own accord, but there was a good chunk of it that was from Armeo expertly pathing through all of his camps, outpacing Fnatic through that game. He was up a level for the majority of it, and I was very impressed with what Harry was able to do, despite APA's best efforts to keep his CS above par in that game.
Yeah, for Harry, that a lot of the early gold did come from not only his advantages, but also him setting up plays with Armeo on the bear. As we saw in yesterday's series, TJ made a reference to the dunk combo that is Stormbreaker into Shockwave, right? So we didn't get to see it too often after the first 3-4 kills of the game, however, from Team Liquid Academy, as from that point on, it was pretty much the Barrage pick show, as anytime that someone was caught a little too far forward or getting a little too comfortable within their, the bush there, then Team Liquid Academy, unfortunately, lose one member to the Impale, and then Gorica gets a reset and then just cleaned up the fight from then on. But for Team Liquid, we will be seeing them on Champ Select in just a few more seconds, folks. And for Smacks, for Team Liquid Academy, what kind of champ picks or priorities or adaptations here do we want to see here as we're about to hit the Select now?
Ooh, all right. So for Team Liquid, as we move on over here, they are still on blue side. So that was one of the things that I was curious to see what they were going to do. And they are also immediately going to be banning away this Skarner. The thing that I'm most curious about is if they keep that same priority on the bot lane picks, where the Tristana and the Kai'Sa are both being removed from the Rift. Because to me, it feels like for Team Liquid Academy, they either have to ban this Tristana, and then Barrage's response is going to be banning Kai'Sa, or they leave both of them up, and then they get the Kai'Sa or Tristana, but the downside is that Gorica gets the other one. So I'm curious to see what Team Liquid Academy's response is to that one. We're seeing that the Seraphine or the Tristana will have to be removed from their bans. I'm expecting it to be that Tristana.
Now, Smacks, for Barrage, as much praise as we give them, when it comes to the champion Seraphine, would it be fair to say that they are not the most apt users of Seraphine compositions, or is that too disingenuous?
I would definitely agree with that one, mainly because Gorica doesn't seem like the kind of player who would want to be pulling that one off for his team. We're seeing that they have pulled out things like the Senna in the past, but hasn't really worked out for them all too well, even though Winter has a very creative Senna champion pool, things like the Cho'Gath, for instance. But yeah, that's more along the lines of what I was expecting. They do take away that Seraphine, but Kai'Sa's still up, Rafa, and I'm fully expecting the Team Liquid Academy are going to lock that one in right away.
Well, so Barrage, knowing that it was either the Seraphine or the Kai'Sa that they had to give up in terms of a ban choice, but if they're willing to let that Kai'Sa go through, wow. So for Team Liquid Academy, we almost expected that maybe this Kai'Sa would have been the first pick, but Team Liquid, knowing that they had an opportunity to go for the Olaf, as it was banned not the first time around, but during the second phase of the first game.
And with the Udyr and Hecarim removed from the board, there aren't very many champions that can match an Olaf in his clear speed, Rafa. So for Fnatic, he's going to have to pull something out of the woodwork to respond to this one. His Skarner is off the board. Could look for something like that Nocturne that we've seen in the past, as he has paired that up with Winter's Rel, and that pairing has looked very nice. Or, okay, they do lock in this Lilia. I'm rather surprised to see this one. Fnatic hasn't played this one too often.
Yeah, Smacks, we definitely need to fill in the fans at home on this Lilia. Why don't we do that during the ban phase second, because I am going to be curious now that Team Liquid Academy, they have an opportunity to take away this Thresh away from Winter, since they have opted in for Jinx Lilia instead of the Jinx and the support option. But Team Liquid actually say, you know what? We know that Gorica is trying to get resets, so instead of putting Yon in a more aggressive position, we're going to put him back on kind of what he grew up with when 100 Thieves next, Senna Tom Kench for Yon and Ayla.
Yeah, this is really, really cool from Team Liquid Academy. They're fully leaving up the Kaisa, which I didn't expect at all, and going for this very defensive scaling duo of the Senna and the Tahm Kench. And it's still going to be a Thresh lock-in from Winter, too. I'm a little bit curious about that one, as Tahm Kench has been the perennial sort of counter pick into this Thresh, where if you do get hit by a death sentence and Tahm Kench is there, then you're completely safe either way. So for Barrage, they have sort of been set up in this draft to be a little bit caught off guard in this bottom lane. And for Team Liquid Academy, Jan doesn't have his signature Kaisa per se, but they do still have a very strong laning duo and scaling duo on the defensive side in this Senna Kench.
It's not a signature Kaisa, but it is a signature Senna, for
Yes.
2020 Yon. And as the bans come through, let's take this time to diverge on why we were so surprised about Fnatic's Lilia. This is a champion that Barrage don't actually have had a lot of success, or haven't had a lot of success with. Lilia is a strong champion. Fnatic is able to pilot it well, but just based on results, Lilia and it being a composition centered around this pick has not been in Barrage's strongest wheelhouse. Now, we did get a chance to talk to some of the players beforehand. They said they got to win on Lilia in a scrim, so maybe it's enough for the confidence
we're leaking
boost.
stuff now, huh? Okay.
It's not too much. It's not too much leaking.
Okay. Well, I am excited to see Lilia is in the wheelhouse of Fnatic, because I have been a big Lilia fan over the course of the past few months. I think this champion is incredibly powerful, especially on red side, where you can pair up a solo lane counter pick with it and sort of just get complete priority over the middle part of the map. So I'm excited to see if Barrage actually do give that counter pick to APA, knowing that they have this Lilia, or they stick with the same trend of giving it over to PCL so he can survive through that top side. And looks like it is going to be the victor picked up immediately by APA yet again.
Barrage practically doing a run back, substitute the Skarner. You don't have Scorpion anymore, but you have half deer, half person here. Half deer person. So if we follow the script here, Smacks, if they still lock in a Aatrox for top lane, but whoa, wait a second. This is a Kassadin, and against a duo magic damage composition in the Lilia and Invictor, this is actually potentially a very scary pick if you're Barrage.
Wow, I am very surprised to see the Kassadin lock-in from Harry in this game. One, because it's Kassadin in general. This is not a champion that you see very often. But two, because this is a sort of champion that doesn't get a lot of mid lane priority in a game like this. And where the meta in this year has progressed so far, mid lane priority is so important for these farm heavy junglers like the Olaf and the Lilia, who we see in a game like this. So for Harry, he very well could be hard bullied out of this early game, even though Fnatic and APA are these magic damage dealing champions, and Kassadin really likes playing against those because it makes his scaling easier. It definitely doesn't make his early game as easy as other mages like that Orianna that we saw banned away in this game. So for Harry, yes, this is a nice lane counter pick where you can shrug that off and have an easy access to hit level 16. It does mean that Fnatic very well could run over the map and take all of those camps.
Yeah, APA will always have push priority and being able to shove in Harry first, because, one of the other caveats about Kassadin, not only he's susceptible to 80 physical counters, but there's also this, big elephant in the room that has no wave clear. It is very minimal, and it is very poor in the early game. But he's so powerful in the late game, especially once he hits the level 16 mark, that if Barrage do not close out the game early enough, Team Liquid Academy will be able to get to the point where you have a Senna that has multiple stacks. It is attacking the enemy team from super far away, and you have just basically a bunch of 4 melees just running in, trying to take out Gorka and APA.
It certainly feels like for Team Liquid Academy, they have a very scale-heavy mid and bottom lane in this game, and it's sort of contradictory to what Armeo's game plan likely is, where he's Olaf. He really wants to get those early invades down, throw all those undertows into his opponents, and maybe take a lot of those early dragons. So it is there's a bit of a rift that they will have to walk the line of. Is you like that pun, Rafa? Rift walk, and for them
God.
to do so.
Stop this man. Freak already does a lot of the pun smacks. You're taking away his branding.
I was getting to the point. For Team Liquid, they will have to use these champions of the Olaf and by extension the Aatrox too to bridge these other scale champions to that late game, because otherwise a champion like Lilia will run amok in that early game, and that's exactly what Gorica wants on this Jinx yet again.
For Team Liquid, we do have to remember, Smax, as we pointed out earlier at the beginning of the day, that Armeo, even though it's not necessarily he's not a jungler that doesn't make plays, but he's someone that likes to play a more risk-averse controlled style. And someone like Olaf, that doesn't necessarily always match up, as Olaf's greatest strength is just being able to get into the face of others early on. But for Armeo and for this composition in this context, I think the question that we have to be asking ourselves here, Smax, is how well can Armeo use the early power of this Olaf to protect these scaling lanes in the early game, and making sure that Barrage don't snowball too hard, because Team Liquid Academy have a lot of time that they need to buy before this composition truly comes online in full power.
Well, we're already seeing an excellent response to the draft by Armeo, where he's starting up on the Raptors, denying that access from Fnatic, where both of them actually are doing the exact same clear for now. But for a champion like Lilia, who's just so fast and so capable when it comes to taking those AoE camps, it's so important to remove that option from her, and Armeo does a phenomenal job of that by starting on that camp, and we're seeing that they very well could just go for the very defensive full clear on their side and wait until they're higher level to go for these early plays. I really like that adaptation from Armeo.
As you pointed out before, Smax, you know, Lilia just being able to, could have easily gone for double Raptor start or Raptor Red into the enemy's Raptors, just because Lilia Q early on is just super powerful, being able to wipe out small AoE camps. Ooh. But now Fnatic is actually going to go for a level 3 invade. He has red buff against Armeo. Armeo also has red buff, so he's got to be careful. He's going to put a ward down. Armeo's going to spot it out. And now he's going to ward his own blue buff. But because he has a cast in mid, it is very hard for him to contest. And Armeo's not going to even waste a beat. He's accepted the loss here, and he's going to go and trade blue buffs on the other side of the map.
Nice hook in that bottom lane. Yon actually popping out forward.
Right. Uh-oh. Well, the Ignite comes down, and now Yon can no longer fight back. And because Islet already expended the Devour, he can't punish on the fact that Gorica was at full stacks, but Armeo is here. Teleport's going to come out. Ghost has been popped. And now all the action has subsided here. Piecake Lord will give up his teleport advantage to make sure that his bottom lane does not get punished.
Team Liquid Academy's bottom lane pair fighting there is actually pretty tricky for Armeo, where he really wanted to just go immediately for that blue buff of Fnatic, but now can't do that. He has to go back to clearing his own camps, and Fnatic, the monster that he is immediately going to take away all these Raptors and push Armeo out, forcing him to recall, maybe killing him.
He wants it. He wants it. He has flash. He's going to use it to escape. One more last turret shot. It is going to be enough to exchange, but Armeo and Fnatic both go down, but first blood is for Barrage.
This is what I'm talking about, Rafa. Fnatic is just able to do this because of this Kassadin pick from Harry. He has so much priority in this early game that even though Armeo took a very nice preventative measure by starting on this Raptor camp, it means that that camp immediately spawns up again. Fnatic can go right for it. And even that Swirl Seed landing means that he has a ton of damage onto this Olaf, and I mean, you're seeing the aftermath on your screen right now, able to dive under turret. Does dive for it, but still a very nice aggressive play from Fnatic.
Yeah, punishing the fact that Armeo had already expended Ghost to try and salvage the bottom lane duo and Yon and Ayla from getting all in, as Piecake Lord now returning back to the top lane, doing a decent job against Jenkins at the moment. Does have a slow wave being pushed in. Fnatic is also on the top side of the map. Diving power between a Volibear and a Lilia pre-6 is not that great, but you know, we can talk about options here for Pie Cake Lord as this wave being pushed in. Doesn't have a ward to be able to find Armeo in his own jungle, but so far, just the fact that Pie Cake Lord burned his teleport and is still up in CS against Jenkins is actually a huge advantage here for Barrage as well.
Pie Cake Lord, actually one of the top laners most well-suited for the Volibear shift in the meta, as Volibear was one of his most played champions in the entirety of the Scouting Ground circuit in 2020 on Supernova. So already very apt playing this champion in this top lane. We're seeing his trade patterns are working tremendously well for him against Jenkins. And for Jenkins on this Aatrox, we mentioned how powerful he can be on this champion. We saw how devastating his team fights were in the last game, even as they were losing them. This is a really big deal for Barrage, where not only are they getting that mid lane priority just in the champion picks alone, but it's also happening in that top lane. It's also happening bottom lane for Gorka. We're seeing the CS lead continue to balloon.
While all this has been going on, Fnatic still maintaining his tempo lead and CS advantage over Armeo after the invade. But Harry, knowing that AP has expended a lot of time using his priority to be able to invade and get time for, or give time over to Fnatic to ensure that he is able to take resources away from Armeo. Harry is still quietly farming up, but now Jenkins did recall, is fully healed up. Fnatic doesn't have level 6, so he can't put the Lilting Lullaby down onto Jenkins anytime soon, but Pie Cake Lord might have enough damage. But Harry's going to be the first one to respond, and Barrage, I think you guys expended way too much time trying to make this happen. Team Liquid Academy come in with the punish.
Wow. That was ill-advised, to say the least, there from Barrage. Armeo was already en route to get up there on the Olaf. Still a very powerful champion at this stage of the game, and Harry gets to teleport over there and participate in both of those kills. Absolute disaster for Barrage. This is the last possible thing that they want to happen in a game like this. Harry, he's scaling up. He's at level 7. He even got a kill. He even got an assist, Rafa. I think now is the time to panic.
Well, they know that Harry doesn't have teleport. Jenkins does, though, so Barrage have to be careful about how far they want to push this fight. Jan and Ayla still sustaining themselves well in this 2v2, heal being popped by Gorka as they are just trading blow after blow. And it is a minion wave that is also in the advantage of Team Liquid Academy. Death Sentence does land, but Ayla with the quick minute save. And Harry, he wants more blood. He wants to accelerate, send himself into the game. Riftwalk comes out. Just a couple more auto attacks will do the trick. And Harry picks up his second kill of the game. He's going to look for more, but it's a little too much. Ayla, oh my god, Winter, able to outplay it all and survives.
Oh my goodness, Rafa. Barrage, they barely avoid another absolute disaster where Harry participates in 2 kills and survives again. They do get a return kill onto this scaling Kassadin, but still, we're seeing the capabilities of this defensive scaling duo in the Senna Tom Kench for Jan and Ayla. They're able to win out on these bot lane 2v2 just trades in general. I gotta know what Winter's health bar number was right there, by the way. I'm sure it was single digits, maybe all the way down to 1.
Oh, man.
But all this happens just because the bottom lane pair for Jan and Ayla are just so strong in this lane. Even though they are down in that CS, it's still just so difficult to actually kill them in a 2v2 or even a 3v2.
Production has told us that he was at 25 HP before making it out alive. So not quite single digits, but still very close to death. Winter thanking his lucky stars after being able to escape with his life. Barrage being able to have priority in this bottom lane are going to be able to secure the first dragon of the game, which will be Infernal. There's no Infernal Souls this game. Armeo going to take a quick sneak peek before the dragon eventually does go down, as fortunately for him, doesn't find a dragon to steal. But Ayla and Jan do have a somewhat of a freeze going on in the bottom lane here.
Yeah, it's not a freeze that you can maintain for a long period of time, but they are denying some CS from Gork as he's able to take down that dragon. Rather late, as it was taken down just after 9 minutes into this game, well after the spawn of the Rift Herald, but that one is yet to be started up. Spoke too soon. PCL is now attacking it up in that top side of the map with his top lane priority, but he's quickly going to find that there's an Aatrox and Olaf who are not wanting him to do so.
Yep. Yep, bear. Pie Kick Lord says, uh-oh. Well, it looks like I have the Burn Stormbreaker just to get out of this one, and not having that ultimate means that I'm not going to have as much priority in that top lane upon returning. It gives an opportunity for Armada to be able to take an objective back off the map. Rift Herald being secured here. I'm curious here, Smacks. You know, between the lanes that you can choose to really knock down, do you want to send it down mid lane so that Harry is unlocked even further to be able to roam across the map? Oh, okay, cool. First impressions, first instincts is good to go here.
Lots of abilities spent in this bottom lane, but again, it's so difficult to actually kill Ayla and Jan. Maybe Fnatic changes that.
Yeah, well, maybe if you bring Bambi, you can change the tides of battle. Teleports are coming in, though. Remember, Pie Cake Lord doesn't have Stormbreaker this time around, but it doesn't even matter. You've got a Super Mega Death Rocket coming in for the back end. Gorka being able to pick up one and get it to reset for another, but Jenkins needs to be able to turn the tides of battle here, looking for the Darkened Blade. Finds it after the flash, but can he sustain as well throughout 3 members? But Pie Cake Lord has the stun, takes him down.
That was a lot of healing. I thought he might be able to do it at the end, Rafa, but
we've seen it before.
I know. This Aatrox champion, something about him and healing really gets those fights going there for Jenkins, but not quite able to finish the job. He does kill Gorka, though, and even blows Gorka's flash in the backside of that fight, so not running away empty-handed in this fight. We're seeing, again, it's just so difficult to kill these two champions in the 2v2, and that's why it's not a 2v2. That's why Fnatic shows up. That's why the teleport comes through.
And even though that Jenkins was technically the first person to answer with the teleport, and Pie Cake Lord was down in ultimate, you can just see the strength of Fnatic being there with the Lilting Lullaby, being able to set up the rest for the pieces to fall. But you do have to be careful. Without Grievous Wounds early on, Jenkins does get to do stuff like this, right? Where it is very hard to take down without crowd control.
As we go back to live, we're seeing that Gorka, you know, he's a little bit sad that he died in that exchange, but still up quite a bit of CS, making his way toward his mythic item. And we saw just how powerful he was in the previous game on Jinx in the team fights. Multiple double kills, I think it was just 1 triple kill, but lots and lots of action and lots of stuff to get excited about if you're Jinx in those fights. And Gorka is in this game yet again. So we'll see if they can make that stick in the coming mid-game exchanges, as the Dragon's going to be up in a little over a minute. Harry, almost at level 11, which is the second breakpoint for Riftwalk. And if you're... I'm sure the chat's already spamming the Monka W point to 16 thing, as Cassidy just tends to put up.
That's usually me.
Yep.
Whenever I see Cassidy engage as a spectator, you know,
me
like
right
level
now.
11. Yeah.
In fact, let me open up the Twitch chat right now. Let me get in there.
No, Smack. Hey, we're doing a job right now. We can participate with Twitch chat another time, as Pie Cake Lord getting pushed in by this minion wave right now. And Jenkins giving him the pain train, being a level above, actually. And he has World Ender. I don't know if he wants to threaten to dive anytime soon in a solo situation like this, but he keeps landing these Darkened Blades, so Pie Cake Lord does have to be careful. And the fact that Jenkins didn't invest into this Executioner calling means that Pie Cake Lord's sustain in the lane is cut down a severe amount. And looking at the next objective on the table, it's going to be the second dragon of the game in 20 seconds, Mountain. You have to look to how this bot lane, if they're going to be able to get priority, as currently Winter and Gorka are being pushed in for Jan and Ayla. They might be able to set up and make a play with Harry, who should be hitting level 11 in a couple more minion waves.
Maybe this one? No, not quite. He's getting there. Oh, you can see it on the bottom left of your screen. Look at that. He's about 85% of the way.
Thank you, observers.
Level 11. Yes, thank you so much. As Team Liquid grouping up around this dragon, Jenkins is first of the top laners to arrive. However, we're seeing that PCL is making his way down. He took a pit stop in the base to buy a Trinity Force, so going for a lot of damage. This is 11.6. It hasn't been changed quite yet, so you're still getting a truckload of attack speed from this item. I have to see if PCL can put that to good use.
2300 onto the Dragon Armeo. Oh my gosh, Fnatic says, oh, let's just go, baby. We're going to put the Lilting Low Bite onto the backline, but Armeo, it opens up an opportunity for him to steal the Dragon, and now, but the ton of burst damage came down onto Jenkins, taking him out of the fight. Harry having to flash away as well, and now Barrage, they have all the means to be able to just clean up. Gorka has the resets, looks for Armeo, gets one onto the back end, forcing Ayla to flash over the wall. Barrage lose the Dragon, but they trade 2 for 3.
They do indeed, Rafa, and Gorka stays alive all throughout, only having to use his heal and blowing both summoner spells from Yon while killing him. You get to see a replay where Armeo is just sitting in the wings, ready to smite. Fnatic just out of range, has been bullied out by that bottom pair and cannot find the smite onto it. So seeing the Team Liquid are the benefactors of that dragon, but as you mentioned, the fight is very tricky. We're seeing just how devastating PCL can be with this big damage build from the Volibear. Jumps directly on Jan's head like a Goomba.
Goomba Stomp.
Boing.
Boing.
Wahoo.
Good old childhood nostalgia. And for Piecake Lord, being so strong on this Volibear is going to mean very good news for Barrage, because with the Trinity Force lock-in, you always will need to have someone answering Harry in a side lane. And having it be APA is definitely not the move, as Harry will get to the point where he just walks all over APA, and with the amount of magic damage reduction he gets naturally from his passive, and of course having that Mercury Treads picked up as well, Piecake Lord investing into a more physical damage heavy build will allow him to be able to deal with this cast.
Right, and perhaps that's the reason why he is gone for this build. As we're already seeing that is the lane assignment set up by Barrage. He is up in that top lane, having to dodge Everfrost on a 20-second cooldown because, again, this item is yet to be changed. Still very powerful. Honestly, still very powerful on 11-7, too.
Winner was looking for a pick on the Ayla, but Armeo is waiting in the wings just to provide support and assistance. Piecake Lord getting priority over Harry, though, in the top lane, as Barrage want to secure the second Rift Herald of the game. They're doing their diligence in preventing vision of that entrance, and it just means it's too dangerous for Team Liquid Academy to face check. This does allow Barrage to pick up the second Rift Herald of the game. They're going to be wanting to put it down mid lane and unlock the map even further, but it's going to be difficult as Armeo is hovering around this lane quite often, trying to do his best to protect Jan and Ayla.
Effective use of those wards and the chompers there from Gorka. Push Team Liquid out. All the while, though, APA was a little bit uncertain on whether or not he needed to join the party, so he did miss out on a wave in that bottom lane that Jenkins pushed toward him. Speaking of Jenkins, now has that full Gore Drinker purchased, knowing that these fights are going to require him to be in the middle of everyone. No stride breaker necessary. He will already be there and will be able to sustain up to those ridiculous levels that we've been seeing from him already in this game and in others in the previous tournaments.
Yeah, between him, Harry, and APA, they are the highest levels of champions in the game at the moment, that being level 12. And notice here that none of the solo laners in Barrage have opted into Grievous Wounds quite yet. But thankfully, Fnatic has an Oblivion Orb. So for team fights, if Jenkins is going to be a part of it, he will at least be able to cut down on the healing. Jenkins will be trying to use to his advantage to... how do I put it, Smax? Be a nuisance for Barrage, as he is just trying to sustain and buy as much time for Jan and Harry to be able to clean up these fights. Harry's still not level 16 yet, so the Monk of W spam is probably... we are getting close, so the Monk of W spam is not as frequent. But once he starts getting closer and closer, I can imagine that the chat will be flooded with the copy pasta.
Don't doubt the power of the Twitch chat, Rafa. I've been there. It almost cost me my leg, but that's another story.
One of us. One of us.
For Harry, though, as you mentioned, he making his way toward that ever so powerful level spike, and once that is reached for Team Liquid, they won't need to care about nuisances anymore. They will have this unkillable void monster on their team in the Cassidon. And we'll see if they actually do make it to that point in a timely manner, because the gold is still dead even. is exactly what they want, but
Sidekick Lord has to ult here. Yep. Stormbreaker over the wall. Armail threatening his life. Being able to single him out, but this Rift Herald crashing into the mid lane with the spawning of the third dragon of the game will give Barrage an opportunity to secure it. Armail is going to be way too late to the party. And Witter did roam over to the top side of the map just to make sure that Armail wasn't trying to be too opportunistic and look for a dive to continue punishing Pancake Lord now the fact that he is down without that ultimate.
Got yet another Ocean Rift, Rafa. So lots of sustain to be had for both teams. Well, actually just Barrage right now, as they're the only ones with that Ocean Drake. But there are a lot of honey fruits down on the Rift. So it's a nice place, very pleasant if you like, well, if you don't mind getting wet on the Rift. And Team Liquid...
Bring some rain boots. Yeah.
Does everyone have their boots equipped? I think they all do. Jan could use an upgrade, but everyone else has got them all.
Jan did the same thing as he did last game. He rushed his 2 items, and he didn't upgrade his tier 2 boots. I didn't point it out in the game 1 because I didn't find it as relevant to why Barrage were doing so well, but yeah, this time around, you should probably pick up tier 2 boots sometime soon, my friend.
Sure, that's on his mind, is making our way toward the time where Baron is very relevant, and arriving to that is super important. Team Liquid especially, as they are the ones who have a ranged holder of the support item, the Sight Stone, where Jan will need to have some backup when he goes for some wards. He does not want to get hit by a death sentence or anything of that sort, or he will be fish food.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if Ayla's always devouring him for safety, he is technically catfish food, so...
There you go. He's fish food regardless, so maybe he shouldn't worry about it too much.
It just depends on who is doing the eating, I guess, is the important context of this. As Team Liquid Academy already trying to potentially catch out Winner here. Harry is on the flank. He's still not level 16 quite yet, so he's not as scary as Castanen could be, but Fnatic looking for the flash engage. Getting the Lilting Lullaby onto 2. Ayla's going to be able to eat up 1, and now Barrage are back in, but look at Jenkins being able to flash forward, and he's got so much power, but Pancake Lord making a flank of his own, finds Jan. Armail goes down, and Gorka is still alive, which means he can still run through these team fights and just wreak havoc, but Jenkins, there's no more grievous wounds as AP and Gorka haven't invested into it. Well, do they have enough damage to be able to take them out? And they do! Barrage Esports wipe out 4 from Team Liquid, and they're going to go for the Baron.
What a teleport flank from Pancake Lord on the backside, too. He has so much damage with this build. He's able to completely annihilate the backside of Team Liquid. Barrage now going to be taking their second Baron of this series. We saw how devastating the first one was when they won that game. They were behind so drastically in taking control of the gold lead, the first team to do so in this game that has been so even otherwise. Now Barrage, they have some time to work with. Now with this Baron buff, still have some time before the level 16 mark is hit by Harry. We'll see if they can actually end the game in time.
Now watch how this engage first started off. Ayla being able to, I believe he cleansed the sleep once again. Is able to provide Jan with some relief and assistance, but Pancake Lord on this flank buys up Ayla and Jenkins' attention after assassinating Jan.
Yeah.
Provides enough time for Barrage to be able to deal with Armail, who was just charging in, trying to absorb as much attention. And even though Jenkins, very hard to kill, they eventually get through it. And now, at this point in the game here, Smacks, Barrage are trying to do as much damage as they can in Team Liquid Academy's structures and base before Harry hits that dreaded timer mark on that level 16 wake up.
Barrage are on the brink of finding what is potentially the biggest upset in this tournament. Just looking at the seeds, of course, where it is seed 15 versus seed 2, Rafa. Just think about that for a second. Seed 15 is currently on the brink of winning the series against seed 2.
Now, while that is correct, Smacks, you know, we also have to point to what we brought up at the beginning of the day, that, you know, Barrage is a team that is heavily underseeded, you know, due to things that were just, quite honestly, out of their control. Right. And it did not allow them to actually get the wins that they could have been able to get. And they potentially could have been a higher seed coming into this tournament. But regardless, it's not like they're beating a lower seeded Academy team coming into this tournament. You have to remember that in a Game 5, they took it to CLG Academy and they barely lost. But now they're on the brink of beating Team Liquid Academy, who are the 2nd seed from the regular season, versus CLG Academy, who were what, the 8th? The 8th seed?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken?
It's been astronomical. The way that Barrage has used this off time between the last chance qualifier and now, you can see it in the way that they're playing around these team fights, and the way that Gorka is able to pump out so much damage on the Jinx. Now, we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. They only have 1 level left. Harry is at level 15. His lane opponent's already there. His lane opponent in APA is already at 16, so Barrage have got to be aware that this is coming. They have to find some way to close out this game quickly and deadly, or else the Rift Walk, it's coming. They're out of Baron, too.
All right, this is where we actually get to see the chat spamming. This is where all you see are Pepe's face zoomed in, looking very terrified. And for Harry, that time is coming soon. Not level 16 still quite yet. The next dragon, the Ocean Soul Point for Barrage, is up on the table in 4 minutes. I imagine Harry should be hitting that level 16 mark. Before then, they might look for a pick onto Piecake Lord. Harry is rift walking in. Piecake Lord is going to get eaten up by Ayla, spat right back out into the waiting arms of the rest of Team Liquid Academy, and it's a shutdown. A lot of gold going over to Harry. Still doesn't give him enough XP for level 16, but it will be a huge gold swing for this mid laner.
Let's see if Barrage can respond on the rest of the map. They already get that mid lane turret. They're pushing in yet another wave into this top. Looks like that's all it's going to be, so all things said and done, a relatively even trade across the board. The only difference is that that mid lane turret's not going to respawn, so Barrage feeling pretty good about that one, especially once PCL does come back to life. Harry getting some solo experience. Let's see. He's 55% of the way there. It doesn't happen quite yet. Oh man, Rafa, it's getting so close. Also, just another check-in. Jan is at 116 souls. You can see in the bottom left of your screen right there. That's a lot of range on the Senna.
How much range is that actually? Is he past Tristana like range at this point, or Caitlyn range? He's got to be.
Now,
right?
I appreciate that you think that I am able to do some math right now, but I'm really not.
Okay, well, here's some quick maths here. Recall takes 8 seconds, teleport takes 6 seconds. It's still not enough. APA with the Everfrost locks down Harry. It's a shutdown that goes over to Gorka as well. Unfortunately for Barrage, there's no objectives really to take on the table quite yet, as Baron is not spawning for another 40 seconds. And Harry will be able to get back on the Rift to be able to answer, but a lot of shutdown gold going into the pockets of one of the primary carries for Barrage is still a huge win.
Yeah, Rafa, it's not necessarily the flashiest of objectives, but for Barrage, there actually is an objective available for them to take, and that is getting vision down for this Baron. I've already mentioned it before, how Jan is playing this very frail AD carry champion. He's the one who has the support item, and it's going to be really difficult for him to get any wards down without being under fire of Fnatic, who's going for it right now.
Holy moly, Fnatic has just been doing this time and again. Flash Q into Lilting Lullaby, setting up for the engage for Barrage. Resets, not going to be CAD for Gorka quite just yet, as Ayla is able to save Jenkins from certain death, spits him back out. But Barrage now have an opportunity to start up this Baron.
Both summoners down from Jan means it's even more tricky for him to lay down any vision. We're seeing both blue trinkets dropped at the same time for Team Liquid, just trying to make sure they can't go for this Baron, but Barrage aren't interested quite yet. They want to see if they can find anything in this mid lane. Trying to get the push down. Maybe they can go back and turn onto the Baron. Barrage are so close to closing out this series against Team Liquid Academy in 2-0 fashion.
For Barrage, Baron would have been a nice objective to have, but consider this max 45 seconds, and then the Ocean Soul spawns. if you're Barrage. So they're gonna get their reset in now. Look for any last item completions. This could be the last one, as Harry is finally level 16 smacks.
He did it.
So if there is a time for Team Liquid Academy to start turning around fights, it is now. This is what the composition was waiting for. The Kassadin, 3.5 items, finally online. It's going to be up to Barrage if they can protect Gorka from being assassinated and wiped out. But something I didn't even mention, Smacks, APA, he's got 12 stacks on a Magi Soul Sealer, so he's dealing a bunch of damage. Armail's going to face tag, and he just might eat his life. Ayla's going to be able to save him from certain death, however, but APA flashing forward, saying, I don't care if you got a cast in it, because I'm Victor! And I do a bunch of damage, but Harry finds one onto the backside. Jenkins trying to flash forward, but is going to go down. Harry looking for the assassination, but it doesn't work out! It goes down, and Team Liquid Academy, all their damage is now onto Yon, but Ayla and Armail, the front lines for the team, are already evaporating. They're getting eviscerated by Barrage. Ladies and gentlemen, Barrage, are they going to actually do it? Are they going to take down the second-seeded Academy team? They take down Yon, and with only Armail, Barrage should be able to take the Baron. Maybe just screw the Baron at this point. Go for the win.
They have the entire Rift in the palm of their hands, Rafa. They can go for anything they please, and that very well could be winning the entire series against Team Liquid Academy off the back of some devastating team fights. Game 1, all things Gorka on the Jinx, and that last one, APA, flashing forward to get so much damage down onto Victor. They've done it, Rafa. Barrage take the series in the first round against Team Liquid Academy 2-0.
What? Oh my god. A 2-0.
Wow.
If we have to be candid here, Smacks, a lot of people and within our colleagues, we are saying a 2-0 probably will come out. But for Team Liquid, not for Barrage. Like, what? This is absolutely insane. And you saw the way that Team Liquid was playing. It wasn't poor performance or really anything. Barrage just really showed up today. We talked about them, a lot of them for being one of the best amateur teams coming out, and they were heavily underseeded. But we cannot stress this enough, folks. We did not expect this high of a performance from Barrage. We expected them to be competitive with Team Liquid Academy, and maybe they would have been, could have been a 2-1 or a 2-0 for Team Liquid. But my goodness,
I'm completely blown away right now, Rafa. This is an absolutely incredible performance from Barrage. All 5 of those guys and the coaching staff should be absolutely proud. What a win, and what a statement immediately off the back of Team Liquid Academy. We all saw what they did in the Northern Arena tournament. They took the entire thing by storm. They won the finals against FlyQuest Academy. They won the losers finals against 100 Thieves Academy so effortlessly. And now they don't even get a single game against Barrage. Look at this, Rafa. Oh
man, Smacks, we actually have an interview on the line, and we both know him very well, actually, Smacks, as we just talked to him earlier today. Fnatic, Mr. Gabe, you did it, dude. Hello. Oh my goodness. What the? How are you so calm right now? Did you just expect this to happen? Is this just another day for you and Barrage?
I mean, it's just we're kind of coming in as the underdog, right? Like, there's no pressure. Like, I knew we always play to level of our opponent. So, to me, like, people are saying, oh, this is going to be easy for TLA to us. Then I thought it was just bullshit.
Wow. Strong words from Fnatic already on the broadcast. I like it. Just make sure, this is a family-friendly broadcast for the most part, so just make sure the language is toned down. But I love the enthusiasm. I love the passion, man. My first question is, when you saw that Kassadin pick come out, did that shake your confidence at all, or did you just know what the game plan needed to be?
I think as we saw the Kassadin pick, our whole game plan changed. I mean, as you saw, I'm usually not the most aggressive in-lane jungler. So my game plan, I had to just try and get an early lead for the team, then try to snowball to it. It didn't go as well as I wished, but yeah, I think we're all fine. We have a Jinx Victor scaling, so we also have very good scaling. So
Yeah, I really liked that adaptation from you guys in those games, and just completely abusing that early priority that Cassidon tends to lack. It worked out really well. Speaking of the jinx here, we got to see Gorica pilot this champion in both of your games. We also got to see that there was the possibility that you could have taken the Kaisa, which both of these AD carries in this series are really known for in this year. Were you guys thinking about taking that champion, or was this jinx just always in the game plan for you after what Gorica did to them in game one?
We thought about the Kaisa, but I think we saw how they played. They think their bot lane didn't perform as well as they used to, or their laning isn't as strong by not winning fights. So we knew that if we have Jinx Thresh, they won't be able to punish it, and we get free scaling. It's also a good matchup into the Kaisa.
All right. Well, Fnatic, then last question here before we give you a chance to shout out anyone that you want for just today's victory. Now moving forward, you guys will be playing and rematching against No Org, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here. So for Fnatic, you guys have played against that team, so many times throughout the Proving Ground circuit. Is it going to be any different when you play against them next week?
I think it's definitely going to be more difficult because I think we match up really well into a team like that plays like TLA, but I think a team like Norg definitely are going to challenge us more in terms of how aggressive. And I also believe that they just have the best top jungle in the whole tournament, so it's going to be a challenge for PCL and I.
All right, fantastic, Fnatic. And then before we let you go, is there anyone else that you want to thank or shout out for today's victory?
I mean, I just shout all my teammates. I think everyone proved today that like a lot of the stuff I've said about us is wrong. Like AP, oh, this guy can't play these farmer main lanes. Like he just carried the game on Victor. So you should get a chance in the academy, and so should all of our players. So.
Much love to you, Fnatic, and congratulations to you and the rest of the Barrage Esports boys at home. Thank you so much for joining us here on the interview today.
Thank you.
Wow. Absolutely incredible stuff. And Smacks, I know we want to talk about it more, but we got to get ready for our second series of the day, which will be Immortals Academy taking on Evil Geniuses Prodigies. For the folks at home, stay tuned. We'll be right back.